Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Piano TV. I am Allysia, your host, and today I wanted to talk about songwriting a little bit more. Now, songwriting is something that I tend to bring up to my students in casual lessons, and I've been bringing it up for many, many years. And a lot of my students are like, why do I need to bother writing music? This is pointless. I'm not going to go off and be some famous pop star or something, so what's the point? So I wanted to outline 6 reasons that I think learning how to write music, even if it's just on a totally casual level, you're not trying to top the Billboard charts or anything like that, can be so helpful to you as a piano player. So another reason I wanted to bring this up today is because starting September 1st, I am starting a pop song challenge, which you can find out more information below, just about learning how to write music. And I'm also fresh out of the studio. Spent a lot of time this summer recording my second album. So with that said, let's get started. The first reason that I recommend learning how to write music, even just casually, is because it helps develop your ear. Having a good ear is such an underrated skill when it comes to learning how to play the piano. A lot of us spend a lot of time learning how to read music on a sheet or to imitate what someone else is playing on the piano just by kind of copying what notes they're pressing. But the better you develop your ear, the more capable you're going to be of doing things like memorizing, which is very, very important. If you're learning a piece of music that's more than a page or two, being able to memorize is critical, especially because, I don't know about you guys, but most of my students, and myself included, have had the experience of sitting down to play the piano. And you practice something, you get pretty good at it, and then the next day you come back and it's like it just totally disappears. It's like out of your brain and it's like you have to relearn it. If you have a good ear and a good memory, then this is going to be less likely to happen. So the way that songwriting helps you develop your ear is by, usually when you're writing music, you're more attuned to things like rhythm, and you're getting inside of the rhythm more so. So sometimes when we read music, it's like we're applying rhythm on a surface level. We're following the beats, we're counting out loud, but we don't really get in the rhythm. When you're writing, you really get a deeper understanding of how everything fits together, how the 4/4 time signatures say, how it feels, how it flows. It just gives you more depth into things like rhythm. There's a lot I could say about building your ear on the piano, but the gist of it is that the better your ear, the better at piano you're going to be, just in general. Ear training can be kind of boring too. Like a lot of my students will just do like ear training exercises. That's fine. That's good. I've done those too. It's really useful, especially if you're studying for exams. But writing music is like, you're not even really paying attention to the fact that you're building your ear. You just are. And that's really cool because it's like you're building skill in a way that doesn't even feel like you're building skill. So that always makes it more fun. The second reason that songwriting helps you as a piano player is it helps you understand the building blocks of music a little bit better. Now, if you spend some time writing pop music or contemporary music or really chord-based music, you might think, how is that going to cross over to if I'm learning classical music, if I'm learning Beethoven or Mozart or whatever? But it totally does. Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, all of these composers use chords. There's chord patterns, there's chord progressions. For example, if you're playing Mozart, you'll find that much of his music, I would even say like 75% of the chords you're going to come across are either the 1 chord, the 4 chord, or the 5 chord. And these are 3 of the most common chords in pop music as well. So there's a lot of overlap. And if you're building songs and you're learning how to use chords and what chord progressions sound good, what chord progressions make sense and drive the music forward, by understanding that on a deeper level, you're going to notice a theme here. Songwriting just allows you to internalize a lot of the musical concepts you might be familiar with. But if you understand chord progressions on a deeper, more intuitive level, then when you go and learn a piece of music by Mozart, it's going to be a lot easier to remember what you're doing, to see, here's a C chord, here's an F chord, here's a G chord, that's the 1, 4, 5. That's going to help you remember your music better and just help it seem less, it makes it more pattern based. So you can look at the music and instead of just seeing random notes, you're seeing patterns. Another way, and this is kind of what I'm circling around to with the first 2 points, but another way that songwriting helps you become a better piano player and a better musician is just because it builds your intuition of how music works. So for example, you'll be able to better anticipate, say, chord changes. If you're learning that Mozart piece and you're playing a C chord and you're kind of scanning along the music and your sight reading, you'll be able to just quickly identify, oh, he's probably going to lean in this direction. We're going to the 5. There's probably going to be like a 5/7 chord or something like that. You develop that intuition. So again, it's not random chaos on the page. It's more organized. So when you are going through, it does make you a better sight reader, because when you're going through, your brain is a lot more attuned to different patterns, because you've familiarized yourself with those patterns from going on the inside. So when we learn music and we copy what other people are doing by reading sheet music or whatever, we don't necessarily get that depth of experience that comes with writing it ourselves. Where we get inside. We're always kind of on the outside, and songwriting gets you on the inside. The fourth point on how learning how to write music makes you a better musician, something I touched on in the first point, but this is huge. This is probably, I would even go so far as to say this is the biggest benefit, is it gives you a better sense of rhythm. Again, when we learn music and we're reading from a page, we tend to not really grasp, and some people get this naturally, but a lot of people don't. We don't necessarily grasp the pulse. We can count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and match up the notes where they all align, but we don't necessarily feel the 4s. So if we're in a 4/4 time signature and you're learning a pop song that's in 4/4, it can be hard for people to feel that sense of 4s, where maybe there's a chord change every 4 beats, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're able to internalize meter and pulse to a degree where it really just seems intuitive, that's going to be super, super helpful when you're learning any kind of music, no matter how complex or simple the rhythm is. So this is something that I've seen over and over again, is my students who write their own music really, really upgrade their capacity for understanding rhythm, and not only understanding rhythm, but feeling it and really, really just getting it. Rhythm is one of those tricky areas of learning piano. It seems to be something that people give short shrift to sometimes, where a lot of time and attention is spent on learning the notes and getting the hands working together. But rhythm is really like the foundation of music. Without rhythm, you don't really have an effective piece or an effective performance. So being able to internalize rhythm and really grasp it on a gut level is so key to becoming a better piano player. The next reason that I think songwriting is a great way to upgrade your piano skills, and this is kind of a fun, but also I think this is a really important point, is it is very easy to spend a lot of time practicing without even noticing that you're spending a lot of time practicing. So if I'm sitting down to practice my classical music or whatever I'm working on, it's a laborious hour. Like if I'm sitting down to practice for an hour, sometimes it flows, but it's a lot of work. And I'm really aware of the time that's passing, especially if I do longer sessions, like in the past studying for my grade 10, when I've done like 3 or 4 hours of practice a day. It's really intense, and it feels like you're really digging out those 3-4 hours. Whereas if I'm writing a song, I can spend all day doing it. I can spend hours on the piano. I can spend hours singing. I've literally done this before, where I wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, and the whole day was basically just spent putting together a song. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. So even though I'm doing a lot of active practice, I'm working through the patterns that I'm writing, I'm playing them over and over again to get them polished, and so on. It doesn't feel like laborious time spent. It goes really fast. It's really enjoyable, and it means you're going to spend longer at the piano and just enjoy your time there. So I think that's a really crucial point. Even if you're not good at songwriting, it's still so easy to just lose yourself in the process of it. The same goes with things like improvisation as well. You can just really get in the zone, and time disappears, and you can get in this flow state in a way that's very pleasurable, feels less like work, a lot more like play. And a final point on how writing music can make you a better piano player is that I notice when my students write music, and this is true of children and adults that I've taught, they not only practice it more, but their attention to detail is much higher. So I would have students come to class and they play their sheet music pretty good, like passably good, often like, good enough. Maybe there's some big mistakes or things like that happening. But if they were writing their own song, not only did they spend a ton of time practicing it, but they spent a ton of time on the detail stage of it. So they would, if there was a part that they kept messing up on, they would be really motivated to go in that part and fix it up so it works. Because if it's something that you're writing, maybe there's a little bit more personal investment, there's a little bit more pride involved. So when you learn it, you want it to sound really, really good. And especially if you want to share it with other people, or if you're recording yourself, which is something that I've recommended my students do, record their compositions and so forth. Especially if you're sharing it with someone, or you're putting it on a recording or things like that, you want it to be to a higher level. You don't want it to be good enough. You want it to be great. This is something that's true of me as well. So when I'm recording demos at my house, demos that I then take into the studio that we turn into like real recordings, I spend a lot of time making sure that there are no mistakes. So when I'm playing a piano part and I'm recording it and there's a mistake, I'm like, that's not good enough. I have to do this again. So I have also had this experience of like a higher degree of attention to detail when I'm writing music and recording my written music. And if I want to be able to play it and sing it at the same time, it holds true as well. Even if I'm not recording it, I still want it to be at that higher caliber so that I can sit down and play it start to finish without really big problems or really big mistakes, because that just makes it more pleasurable and more enjoyable to play. Even if I'm not showing anyone, I'm not recording anything, it's just me by myself, I hold myself to a higher standard when it's a song I'm writing, usually, versus when it's a song I'm learning. A final note I wanted to make about songwriting is that a lot of people just kind of consider it like not essential. It's not that useful. It's just something that only a certain amount of people can do. Like a gifted piano player is the kind of person who could write music, maybe, or like you have to have a knack or a talent for it. And though it's true that people who have a talent for songwriting just naturally will gravitate to it more and do it more, I totally firmly believe that even if you've never written a song, even if you don't feel like you have any particular talent for it, even if you're not very good at singing, you can still build so many skills from doing it. You can understand your music that you're playing better. You can develop your ear and your sense of rhythm. You can have a lot of fun. You can spend a lot of extra time practicing. You can work on the process of polishing a piece. All of those things are true, even if you're not one of those like talented few. And it's also true that practice makes perfect. So even if you're not intrinsically talented, whatever that even means. Talent is such an odd concept to me. Some people do seem to have a better intuition for music. Some people have a better intuition of rhythm. Not everyone starts at the exact same square when they're learning how to play piano. But even if, someone else is here and you feel like you're here, there's so much that you can learn, and there's so many skills you can build just from doing this. And it's super fun. If you can get over the mental hurdle of, I'm not a songwriter, that's like something that other people do, that's not something that I do, you'll find that it's such a rewarding process to go through. And I love teaching it, and I absolutely love songwriting. It's one of my favorite things to do in the entire world. Like if I were to make a top 5 list of like my favorite things to do, it would probably even be top 3. So something I'm really passionate about too. So I hope you'll join the course if you want to get deeper into songwriting. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have an action step every single day to push you towards the end goal by the end of September, being able to have a finished piece of music, like a finished song, like a pop song with lyrics, with melody, chords, all of that. Even if you've never written a song before. So I think that's going to be super fun. I've never taught a class like this before. I've never done a challenge like this before. I'm going to be writing a song alongside you guys and going through the learning steps as I teach it. So I think for myself on a personal level, I'm very excited to see what you guys come up with and do this with you. So I hope you'll come check it out, and I'll talk to you later.